The arrival. The massive starship Terran Hope dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light, its sleek hull gleaming under the distant stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the view screen as an alien space station came into view. The structure was a marvel of engineering, a sprawling collection of interconnected rings and spires that dwarfed even the largest human constructions. Quite a sight, isn't it? Sarah mused, glancing at her first officer, Commander Raj Patel. Raj nodded, his usually stoic face betraying a hint of awe. It's hard to believe we're really here. The Galactic Confluence Tournament. Who would have thought Earth would be invited? Sarah allowed herself a small smile. It had been just 5 years since humanity had made first contact with the wider galactic community. Their introduction had been rocky at first. Many alien species viewed Earth as a death world, a planet so inhospitable that it should never have produced sapient life. Humans were seen as oddities at best, potential threats at worst. But now, here they were, invited to participate in the most prestigious sporting event in the known galaxy. The Galactic Confluence Tournament was held once every 100 years, bringing together representatives from thousands of worlds to compete in tests of strength, skill, and strategy. Captain, the communications officer called out, "We're receiving a transmission from the station. They're directing us to Docking Bay 17. Sarah nodded. "Take us in, nice and easy. Let's not give them any reason to think we're a threat." As the Terran Hope glided towards its assigned berth, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. She and her crew had been chosen to represent humanity in this grand spectacle, but they had little idea of what to expect. The tournament's challenges were kept secret until the last moment, adding an element of unpredictability that made Sarah's tactical mind itch. The ship settled into the docking bay with a gentle thud, and Sarah took a deep breath. "All right, people, let's go make a good first impression." As the airlock cycled open, Sarah led her team onto the station. They were immediately struck by the diversity of life forms bustling about. Towering, four-armed beings with iridescent scales brushed past diminutive creatures that seemed to float on cushions of air. Everywhere they looked, there was a new marvel to behold. An alien official approached them, its body a sinuous serpentine form that moved with surprising grace. "Greetings, humans," it said, its voice a melodious trill. "I am Zix Terra, your liaison for the duration of the tournament. We are pleased that you could join us." Sarah stepped forward, offering a polite bow. "Thank you for having us, Zix Terra. We're honored to be here." The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to study them intently. "If you'll follow me, I'll show you to your quarters and provide you with the schedule of events." As they walked through the station's winding corridors, Sarah couldn't help but notice the reactions of the other aliens they passed. Some regarded them with open curiosity, others with barely concealed disdain. She heard whispers in languages her translator couldn't quite catch, but the tone was clear enough. "They don't think much of us, do they?" Raj murmured, keeping his voice low. Sarah shrugged. "Can't say I blame them. We're the new kids on the block, from a planet they probably think should be quarantined. We'll just have to show them what we're made of." They arrived at a large, circular chamber filled with holographic displays. Zix Terra gestured towards the center. "This is the Hall of Challenges. Here, you will learn of each trial as it is revealed. The first challenge will be announced in one standard rotation." Sarah nodded, taking in the room. "And our quarters." "This way," Zix Terra said, leading them down another corridor. They arrived at a set of rooms that, while alien in design, seemed comfortable enough. "Rest well," the alien said. "You will need your strength for what is to come." As Zix Terra slithered away, Sarah turned to her team. There were 5 of them in total. Herself, Raj, Dr. Elena Rossi, their medical officer, technical specialist Chen Wei, and security chief Amal Okafor. Each had been chosen not just for their individual skills, but for their ability to work together as a cohesive unit. "All right, team," Sarah said, her voice firm but encouraging. We've got some downtime before the first challenge. I want you all to rest up, but keep your eyes and ears open. Any information we can gather about the other competitors or the nature of these challenges could give us an edge. Elena, her red hair tied back in a practical ponytail, spoke up. Captain, should we be concerned about the physical demands of these challenges? We've trained, of course, but we're up against species we know next to nothing about. Sarah considered this for a moment. It's a valid concern, Elena. But remember, we've got something they don't expect. Adaptability. Humans have faced every challenge our world could throw at us, and we're still standing. Whatever they've got planned, we'll find a way through it. Chen Wei, his fingers already dancing over a datapad, chimed in. I've been going over the station schematics they provided. The layout is interesting. Lots of large, open spaces that could be reconfigured for different types of challenges. Good catch, Chen, Sarah nodded. Keep analyzing. Anything could be useful. As the team settled into their quarters, Sarah found herself drawn to the large viewing port in the common area. The vastness of space stretched out before her, punctuated by the twinkling lights of unfamiliar stars. In that moment, the weight of their mission truly hit her. They weren't just representing Earth anymore. They were carrying the hopes and dreams of all humanity. A quiet knock at the door broke her reverie. It was Amal, his tall frame filling the doorway. Captain, I've been doing some recon. The other teams, they're not what I expected. Sarah raised an eyebrow. How so? Amal stepped inside, his voice low. They're relaxed, almost casual. It's like they don't see us as real competition. A slow smile spread across Sarah's face. Is that so? Well, Amal, I think we might just have an advantage there. If they're underestimating us, that's their mistake. As the first day on the station drew to a close, Sarah gathered her team one last time. Get some rest, everyone. Tomorrow, we show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. And remember, no matter what challenge they throw at us, we've faced worse just getting out of bed on Earth. A chuckle rippled through the group, tension easing from their shoulders. As they dispersed to their individual rooms, Sarah felt a surge of pride. They were ready for whatever the tournament had in store. Little did they know, their presence at the Galactic Confluence Tournament was about to change the course of intergalactic history. The humans were here, and the galaxy would never be the same. The first challenge. The sound of a melodious chime reverberated through the human quarters, rousing the team from their sleep. Captain Sarah Chen was already awake, her mind cycling through potential scenarios for their first challenge. As her team assembled in the common area, she noticed a mix of excitement and nervous energy. All right, people, Sarah said, her voice steady and confident. Whatever they throw at us today, remember, we're Terrans. We've evolved on a world that tries to kill us daily. We've got this. They made their way to the Hall of Challenges, joining a throng of alien competitors. The diversity was staggering. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions filled the vast chamber. Some floated on anti-gravity fields, others slithered or crawled, while a few seemed to phase in and out of visible existence. Zixterra appeared before them, its sinuous form undulating with what Sarah interpreted as excitement. Greetings, competitors. The first challenge of the Galactic Confluence Tournament is about to begin. Please direct your attention to the central hologram. The air in the center of the hall shimmered, coalescing into a three-dimensional image of a complex maze. It twisted and turned, filled with obstacles and what appeared to be various environmental hazards. The challenge of adaptability, Zixterra announced. Each team must navigate this ever-changing labyrinth, overcoming physical, mental, and environmental challenges. The first 3 teams to reach the center will advance to the next round. The maze will reconfigure itself every 100 microcycles, and the environmental conditions will shift unpredictably. You have 1 microcycle to prepare. Good luck to all. As the other competitors broke into hurried discussions, Sarah gathered her team close. All right, quick strategy session. Thoughts? Elena spoke first, her medical training coming to the fore. The shifting environments could be dangerous. We should be prepared for rapid temperature changes, altered gravity, maybe even atmospheric variations. Chen nodded, already tapping away at his datapad. I can rig our comms to give us a heads up on environmental shifts. Might give us a few seconds advantage. Good, Sarah said. Raj, Amal, you two take point on the physical obstacles. Elena, keep an eye on our vitals. Chen, you're our tech expert. Any puzzles or mechanical challenges, that's your domain. I'll coordinate and make the big decisions if we hit a crossroads. The team nodded, their roles clear. As they lined up at the maze's entrance alongside the other competitors, Sarah couldn't help but notice the dismissive looks they were receiving. One particularly large alien, a mass of writhing tentacles and bioluminescent patches, made a sound that Sarah's translator interpreted as a derisive snort. Look at the soft skins, it gurgled. They'll be lucky to make it past the first reconfiguration. Sarah met its gaze, or what she assumed was its gaze, steadily. We'll see about that, she said calmly. A loud tone sounded, and the maze's entrance rised open. The competitors surged forward, a chaotic mass of bodies, appendages, and various modes of locomotion. Sarah and her team held back for a moment, letting the initial rush subside. Steady now, Sarah said. Let's show them how Terrans handle a challenge. They entered the maze, immediately confronted by a corridor that seemed to stretch and contract, playing havoc with their depth perception. Raj took point, his steps careful but confident. Captain, Chen called out, his eyes on his datapad. First reconfiguration in 30 seconds. I'm detecting a temperature drop ahead. Sarah nodded. Good work. Everyone, be ready for cold weather conditions. As they pressed forward, the temperature plummeted. Frost began to form on the maze's walls, and their breath came out in visible puffs. Some of the alien competitors ahead of them began to slow, their biology clearly not adapted for cold. Keep moving, Sarah urged. Our bodies are built for temperature variation. They pressed on, their pace steady. As they rounded a corner, they encountered their first major obstacle, a chasm too wide to jump, with platforms floating in a random pattern. Anti-gravity platforms, Chen observed. The pattern looks chaotic, but there might be a sequence. Before he could finish, Amal had already leaped onto the first platform. With a grace that belied his size, he bounded from one to the next, his security training evident in every precise movement. Sometimes, Amal called back, a grin on his face, you just have to trust your instincts. The rest of the team followed, with Chen using his observations to guide those less physically inclined. As they reached the other side, they heard sounds of frustration behind them. Other teams struggling with the challenge they had just overcome. Well done, Sarah said, allowing herself a small smile. But stay focused. This is just the beginning. As if on cue, the maze shuddered and began to reconfigure. Walls shifted, new passages opened, and the environment changed dramatically. The cold was replaced by sweltering heat, and the air became thick and humid. Jungle conditions, Elena observed, wiping sweat from her brow. Watch out for rapid dehydration. They pressed on, encountering and overcoming obstacle after obstacle. A section of corrosive fog that Chen navigated them through using a hastily improvised filter. A series of riddles in an alien language that Raj, with his linguistic skills, managed to decipher. A gravity-free zone that had them swimming through the air, using Elena's knowledge of zero-G maneuvering from her medical training in space. Throughout it all, Sarah coordinated their efforts, making split-second decisions and keeping the team focused and motivated. They encountered other teams along the way, some struggling, others making steady progress. The tentacled alien they had met at the start was nowhere to be seen. As they approached what they hoped was the final stretch, they hit their biggest challenge yet. The passage ahead was filled with a crackling energy field, oscillating at a frequency that made it impossible to pass through safely. Ideas, Sarah asked, her mind already racing through possibilities. Chen studied the field, his brow furrowed in concentration. It's operating on a quantum level. If we could predict the oscillations. No time for complex calculations, Raj interjected. Look, there are safe spots, but they're moving too fast to track. Sarah watched the field, her eyes narrowing. Then something clicked. It's not random. There's a pattern, but it's based on something we haven't considered. She turned to her team. Everyone, link hands. We're going through together, and we're going to use our heartbeats to time it. Our heartbeats. Elena asked, surprised. Trust me, Sarah said, her voice firm. They linked hands, forming the human chain. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the pulse of her own heart and the subtle vibrations from her team. On my mark, she said. 3, 2, 1. Now. They surged forward as one, moving in perfect sync. To the observers, it must have looked like madness. 5 humans diving into a lethal energy field. But with each step, they found safe passage, their movements guided by the rhythm of their synchronized heartbeats. In a matter of seconds, they were through, stumbling into a large circular chamber. As they caught their breath, they realized they were standing in the very center of the maze. A chime sounded, and Zixtera's voice filled the air. Congratulations to the human team, first to complete the challenge of adaptability. Please remain in the central chamber as we await the other qualifying teams. As the adrenaline of their success began to wear off, Sarah looked at her team with pride. They were sweaty, disheveled, and tired, but their eyes shone with the light of accomplishment. Well done, everyone, she said softly. We just showed the galaxy what humans are capable of. As they waited for the other teams to arrive, Sarah couldn't help but wonder what ripples their unexpected success would create in the grand tapestry of intergalactic politics. One thing was certain. The Galactic Confluence Tournament had just gotten a lot more interesting. Raising the stakes, the central chamber of the maze hummed with tension as the human team waited. Captain Sarah Chen paced slowly, her mind already racing ahead to what challenges might come next. It was nearly an hour before the second team arrived, a group of towering crystalline beings that seemed to communicate through pulses of light. Another 30 minutes passed before the third team stumbled in, the very same tentacled aliens who had mocked the humans at the start. Their bioluminescent patches flickered weakly, a sign of clear exhaustion. Zixtera materialized in the center of the chamber, its sinuous form rippling with what Sarah interpreted as excitement. Congratulations to our 3 qualifying teams, it announced. You have proven your adaptability and resourcefulness. But the Galactic Confluence Tournament has only just begun. Please, follow me to the Hall of Trials for your next challenge. As they made their way through the station's winding corridors, Sarah could feel the weight of countless alien gazes upon them. Word of their unexpected victory had clearly spread quickly. Some looks were curious, others wary, and a few seemed openly hostile. Captain, Raj murmured, falling into step beside her. I don't like the feel of this. We've upset the status quo. Sarah nodded slightly. Stay alert, but don't show any weakness. We've earned our place here. The Hall of Trials was a cavernous space, its high ceiling lost in shadows. At its center stood 3 identical podiums, each bearing a complex device that pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly light. Zixtera slithered to the front of the gathered competitors and spectators. Your next challenge is one of the mind, it announced. These devices are cognition engines, ancient artifacts capable of generating complex mental landscapes. Each team will enter a shared mindscape, where you must unravel the mysteries within and find the key to escape. But be warned, the landscapes are treacherous, and what you experience there may have lasting effects. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Sarah exchanged glances with her team, seeing a mix of excitement and apprehension in their eyes. Remember, she said quietly, our greatest strength is our diversity of thought. Whatever we face in there, we face it together. They approached their assigned cognition engine. Up close, Sarah could see that its surface was covered in intricate, shifting patterns that seemed to defy the laws of geometry. "On my mark," Zixtera called out. 3, 2, 1, begin. Sarah placed her hand on the device, feeling a jolt of energy course through her body. The world around her blurred and faded, replaced by a swirling vortex of colors and abstract shapes. She felt the presence of her team around her, their minds linked in this strange, formless space. Suddenly, the chaos coalesced into a coherent scene. They found themselves standing on a vast plain under an alien sky, filled with pulsating, multi-hued stars. Before them stood an enormous structure, a twisted spire that seemed to be made of pure thought, its surface rippling with equations and symbols. "Well," Amal said, his voice echoing strangely in this mental realm, "I guess we're supposed to climb that." As they approached the base of the spire, they realized it wasn't going to be a simple ascent. Each level was a different mental challenge. Puzzles, riddles, and philosophical conundrums, all alien in nature and growing increasingly complex. "This first one," Chen said, studying the shifting array of symbols. "It's a logic puzzle, but it's using a base 12 mathematical system. The next seems to be a test of spatial reasoning," Raj added, gesturing to a three-dimensional maze that rotated in impossible ways. Sarah nodded. "All right, let's tackle these one at a time. Chen, you take point on the mathematical challenges. Raj, you handle language and logic. Elena, your medical knowledge might come in handy for any biological puzzles. Amal, keep an eye out for any potential threats. This might be a mental landscape, but I wouldn't put it past the designers to throw in some danger." They began their ascent, each challenge pushing their minds to the limit. They encountered problems that required them to think in 4, 5, even 6 dimensions, puzzles that could only be solved by fundamentally altering their perception of reality. Ethical dilemmas with no clear right answer, forcing them to debate and reach consensus. Throughout it all, Sarah coordinated their efforts, drawing on each team member's strengths and helping them push past their mental barriers. She noticed that the challenges seemed designed to induce stress and confusion, to break down their sense of self and reality. "Stay focused," she reminded her team regularly. "Remember who you are and why we're here." As they neared the top of the spire, the challenges became even more abstract. They found themselves navigating through conceptual spaces, solving puzzles that dealt with the very nature of consciousness and existence. "This is incredible," Elena breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "We're pushing the boundaries of human cognition. The things we're learning here, they could revolutionize our understanding of the mind." Sarah nodded, but kept her focus. "Let's make sure we get out of here with our sanity intact first. Then we can worry about scientific breakthroughs." Finally, they'd reached the summit of the spire. Before them hovered a pulsating orb of pure energy, the key to their escape. But as Sarah reached for it, the entire mindscape shuddered. "Wait," Chen called out. "Something's wrong. The parameters of this reality are shifting. If we take that key now, we might leave part of our minds behind." Sarah paused, her hand inches from the orb. "Explain." Chen's brow furrowed in concentration. "This whole challenge, it's not just about solving puzzles. It's about understanding the nature of this mental realm. We need to synchronize our minds perfectly to safely extract the key." Sarah looked at her team, seeing the strain of the mental ordeal in their eyes. "All right, everyone, focus. Remember our training, our experiences together. Think about what makes us human, what connects us." They joined hands, forming a circle around the key. Sarah felt her consciousness expanding, merging with those of her teammates. Memories flashed through her mind, not just her own, but those of Raj, Elena, Chen, and Amal. Their fears, hopes, dreams, all laid bare. In that moment of perfect unity, Sarah reached out and grasped the key. The mindscape around them shattered like glass, and they found themselves back in the Hall of Trials, gasping and disoriented. Zixtera's voice cut through the fog in their minds. Extraordinary. The human team has once again finished first, demonstrating unprecedented mental cohesion and problem-solving ability. As Sarah's vision cleared, she saw that the other teams were still locked in their mental challenges, their bodies twitching and shuddering before their respective cognition engines. The crowd of alien spectators had grown, and the atmosphere had changed. Gone was the dismissive attitude from before. Now Sarah could sense a mix of awe, curiosity, and fear. She helped her team to their feet, noting how they moved in almost perfect sync, an after-effect of their shared mental experience. "Well done, everyone," she said softly. "But stay sharp. I have a feeling things are about to get a lot more complicated." As they were led away to rest before the next challenge, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they had just crossed a line. They had proven that humans weren't just physically adaptable, but mentally formidable as well. And in doing so, they might have just made themselves the biggest threat in the galaxy. The Galactic Confluence Tournament was turning out to be far more than a simple competition. It was becoming a stage for humanity to demonstrate its potential, for better or worse. And as Sarah looked at the alien faces around her, she realized that the real challenge might not be the tournament itself, but dealing with the consequences of their success. The final test. The atmosphere in the human team's quarters was electric, with a mix of excitement and apprehension. They had just received word that the final challenge of the Galactic Confluence Tournament was about to begin. Captain Sarah Chen stood before her team, her posture straight and her gaze steady. "All right, people," she began, her voice calm but tinged with intensity. "We've come further than anyone expected. We've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. But this last challenge, it's going to be unlike anything we've faced before." Raj stepped forward, his usually stoic face showing a hint of concern. "Captain, the rumors circulating among the other competitors, they're saying this final test has never been completed in the history of the tournament." Sarah nodded grimly. "I've heard the same. But remember, they've never had humans in this tournament before. Whatever they throw at us, we face it together." As they made their way to the arena, Sarah couldn't help but notice the change in how they were perceived. Alien spectators parted before them, a mixture of awe and fear in their multifaceted eyes or sensory organs. They were no longer the underdogs. They were the team to beat, the unpredictable variable in a carefully balanced equation. The arena this time was different. A massive, spherical chamber that seemed to stretch into infinity. At its center floated a pulsating orb of energy, tendrils of light reaching out in all directions. Zixtera appeared before the gathered competitors and spectators, its form shimmering with an intensity Sarah hadn't seen before. "Esteemed beings of the galaxy," it began, its voice resonating through the chamber. "You stand before the crucible of transcendence, the ultimate test of the species' potential. In all the eons of this tournament's existence, no team has ever succeeded in this challenge. But to attempt it is to push the boundaries of evolution itself." A hushed murmur swept through the crowd. Sarah felt her team tense beside her, but their resolve remained unshaken. Zixtera continued, "The crucible will probe the very essence of your being. It will challenge not just your bodies or your minds, but the very core of what makes you who and what you are. To succeed, you must transcend your current limitations and touch the fabric of the universe itself." With a gesture, Zixtera activated the orb. It pulsed with blinding intensity, and Sarah felt a pull unlike anything she had ever experienced. It wasn't physical. It was as if the very essence of her being was being drawn towards the crucible. "Your goal is simple, yet nearly impossible," Zixtera explained. "Reach the center of the crucible and unlock its secrets. But be warned, what you find there may change you forever. The challenge begins now." Without hesitation, Sarah led her team towards the orb. As they approached, the pull intensified. Sarah felt her consciousness expanding, connecting with something vast and incomprehensible. "Stay together," she called out, her voice sounding distant and echoing. Whatever happens, we face it as one. As they entered the field of energy surrounding the orb, reality itself seemed to warp and shift. Sarah saw glimpses of other worlds, other times, other possibilities. She felt the weight of countless lives, the ebb and flow of cosmic forces. Beside her, she could sense her team struggling with their own visions. Alina gasped as she witnessed the birth and death of stars. Chen's eyes widened as equations of impossible complexity flowed through his mind. Amal gritted his teeth as he relived battles spanning millennia. Raj stood transfixed, experiencing the rise and fall of civilizations in the blink of an eye. "Focus," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Remember who we are. Remember Earth." With monumental effort, they pushed forward, their minds and bodies strained at the breaking point. As they neared the center of the crucible, Sarah began to understand. This wasn't just a test. It was a glimpse into the true nature of the universe, a reality far more complex and interconnected than they had ever imagined. In that moment of clarity, Sarah realized what they needed to do. "Everyone, join hands," she commanded. "We need to synchronize, not just our actions, but our very beings." As their hands clasped together, Sarah felt a surge of energy. Their individual experiences, their unique perspectives, began to merge. They weren't just 5 humans anymore. They were becoming something more, a collective consciousness that was greater than the sum of its parts. With this newfound unity, they pushed towards the heart of the crucible. The barriers of reality seemed to part before them, recognizing them as kindred spirits to the cosmic forces at play. As they reached the center, Sarah felt a presence, ancient, vast, and curious. A voice that wasn't a voice spoke directly into their collective mind. "You have come far, children of Earth," it said. "In your unity, you have touched upon a truth that few species ever grasp. The universe is not a collection of separate entities, but a grand tapestry of interconnected beings and forces. You have proven yourselves worthy of the next step." Suddenly, knowledge began to flow into their minds, secrets of the cosmos, technologies beyond their wildest dreams, and a deeper understanding of their place in the grand scheme of things. As quickly as it had begun, it was over. The team found themselves back in the arena, gasping and disoriented. The orb at the center pulsed one final time before going dark. Zixtera's voice, filled with awe and disbelief, broke the silence. "Incredible. The human team has. They've done it. They've completed the crucible of transcendence." The arena erupted in a cacophony of alien voices, some cheering, others muttering in disbelief or concern. Sarah looked at her team, seeing in their eyes the same mix of wonder and apprehension she felt. They had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations, but as the implications of what they had experienced began to sink in, Sarah realized that their journey was far from over. They had just changed the course of galactic history, and the real challenges were only beginning. As they were led away from the arena, hailed as champions of the Galactic Confluence tournament, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of a new era. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage, but at what cost? And what responsibilities would come with their newfound knowledge and status? The tournament was over, but humanity's greatest test was just beginning. The aftermath. The days following the Galactic Confluence tournament were a whirlwind of activity. Captain Sarah Chen and her team found themselves at the center of a storm of attention, controversy, and diplomatic maneuvering. The station buzzed with activity as news of their unprecedented victory spread across the galaxy. Sarah stood at the viewport in their quarters, gazing out at the star-filled expanse. The knowledge imparted by the crucible of transcendence still swirled in her mind, a vast ocean of information that she was only beginning to comprehend. A gentle knock at the door broke her reverie. "Enter," she called out. Zixtera slithered into the room, its form undulating with what Sarah now recognized as a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Captain Chen," it began, its melodious voice tinged with a new note of respect. "The Galactic Council requests your presence. They wish to discuss the implications of your victory." Sarah nodded, unsurprised. "I expected as much. When and where?" "In one standard rotation, in the Grand Chamber," Zixterra replied. "Captain, may I speak frankly?" "Of course," Sarah said, turning to face the alien liaison fully. Zixterra's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with emotion. "In all my cycles as a tournament official, I have never seen anything like what your team accomplished. You have changed things, Captain Chen. The galaxy will never be the same." Sarah felt the weight of those words settle on her shoulders. Change was inevitable, Zixterra. We just happened to be the catalyst. As Zixterra left, Sarah gathered her team. They had spent the past few days in intense debriefings and medical examinations, but this would be their first official meeting since the final challenge. "All right, people," she began, looking at each of them in turn. "In a few hours, we're going to face the Galactic Council. Before that, I need to know, how is everyone holding up?" Elena spoke first, her voice tinged with awe. "Captain, the things we saw, the knowledge we gained, it's beyond anything I could have imagined. I've already begun documenting some of the medical breakthroughs. The potential to alleviate suffering across the galaxy is enormous." Chen nodded enthusiastically. "The scientific implications are staggering. I've been working on translating some of the advanced physics concepts into mathematical models. If we can implement even a fraction of what we learned, it could revolutionize our understanding of the universe." Raj, however, looked more cautious. "While the potential benefits are clear, we need to consider the geopolitical ramifications. We've essentially upended the galactic balance of power. Some species might see us as a threat." Amal agreed, his security training coming to the fore. "I've been monitoring the chatter among the other species. Opinions are divided. Some see us as saviors, others as dangerous upstarts. We need to tread carefully." Sarah absorbed their input, feeling a surge of pride in her team's ability to grasp the enormity of their situation. "You're all right," she said. "We're standing at a crossroads of galactic history. What we do next will shape the future of not just humanity, but countless other species as well." As they made their way to the Grand Chamber, Sarah could feel the weight of countless alien gazes upon them. The corridor was lined with representatives from dozens of species, some familiar from the tournament, others entirely new. The Grand Chamber itself was a marvel of alien architecture, a vast spherical space with floating platforms arranged in concentric circles. At the center was a raised dais where the Galactic Council sat. Beings of obvious power and influence, their forms as diverse as the species they represented. As Sarah and her team took their place on a platform near the center, a hush fell over the chamber. A being of pure energy, its form barely contained within a shimmering field, floated forward. "Greetings, champions of Earth," it began, its voice resonating not through the air, but directly in their minds. "You stand before the Galactic Council, having achieved what many thought impossible. Your actions have sent ripples through the very fabric of our society. We are here to determine what this means for the future of galactic civilization." Sarah stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. "Esteemed members of the Council, we came to this tournament as representatives of Earth, a planet many of you considered primitive. We leave as proof that humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. The knowledge we've gained is not just for us. It's for all sentient beings who strive for understanding and progress." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Another council member, a being with multiple limbs and eyes that seemed to peer into different dimensions, spoke up. "And what assurances do we have that humanity will use this knowledge responsibly? Your species is young, prone to conflict. How can we trust you with the secrets of the cosmos?" Sarah felt her team tense behind her, but she remained calm. "It's true that humanity has its flaws. We've made mistakes, and will likely make more. But it's our ability to learn, to adapt, to strive for better that defines us. We don't claim to be perfect, but we are committed to growth, both as individuals and as a species." She paused, looking around the chamber. What we experienced in the crucible of transcendence showed us that the universe is far more interconnected than we ever imagined. We're all part of something greater. Humanity doesn't want to dominate. We want to contribute, to be part of this grand tapestry of galactic civilization. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some supportive, others skeptical. The debate raged for hours, with questions posed, challenges issued, and alliances formed and broken. Through it all, Sarah and her team stood firm, answering with honesty and vision. They spoke of cooperation, of sharing knowledge, of facing the unknown challenges of the universe together. As the session neared its end, the energy being at the head of the council raised its appendages for silence. "We have heard much today," it proclaimed. "The arrival of humanity on the galactic stage marks a turning point in our shared history. It is the decision of this council that Earth be granted full membership in the Galactic Confederation, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." A cheer went up from many in the chamber, while others remained silent, their reservations clear. The being continued. "However, with this great power comes great responsibility. A committee will be formed to oversee the integration of Earth's newfound knowledge into the galactic community. We must ensure that this transition is managed carefully, for the benefit of all." As the session adjourned, Sarah turned to her team. Their faces showed a mix of elation, exhaustion, and the dawning realization of the monumental task ahead. "Well, folks," Sarah said with a small smile, "it looks like our mission just got a lot bigger. We came here to prove ourselves in a tournament. We're leaving as ambassadors of Earth to the galaxy." Raj nodded solemnly. "The real work begins now, Captain." As they left the grand chamber, Sarah's mind raced with the possibilities and challenges that lay ahead. Humanity had taken its first true steps into a larger universe. They had proven themselves not just capable, but exceptional. But as she looked out at the sea of alien faces, some welcoming, others wary, Sarah knew that their greatest test was still to come. They had changed the galaxy. Now they had to help shape its future. The tournament was over, but humanity's cosmic journey was just beginning. And Sarah Chen, along with her team, would be at the forefront, ready to face whatever the universe had in store.